Today we're going to fold two versions of the same origami boat. As you can see, they are nearly identical, except that where it concerns the colored side and the white edge of the paper is showing on different sides of the boat. Both of these boats are folded from a nearly identical crease pattern. The only difference between these two crease patterns is the direction of the folds. So for the easy fold boat, which is this boat, they are in one direction, and for the waterproof boat, they are in another direction. Now as to the names, easy fold is you can see why that's called easy fold after I folded it, because it's a relatively easy fold to make. This one is a somewhat more difficult fold to achieve because of some of the tucking and so forth that you have to do to achieve this particular boat. It's called waterproof because sometimes origami paper comes in forms with a plastic coating or a metal coating that makes one side of the paper waterproof. So this particular boat has the plastic side out where it would be placed in the water, and the inside the boat is the non-waterproof part of it. In this boat you can see that the edges of the boat here touch the water, and the water could travel up and get into the boat. They could soak into the boat from the edges. Let's begin with the easy boat fold. The first thing you want to do with this fold is divide the paper into thirds. So there are many methods for doing this, and I'm not going to show you that here. I have a method on my YouTube site, and you can find them all over the web for ways to fold into the thirds. So you fold it into thirds and you fold it together, forming the thirds, and that's the first two lines you're going to fold. You will then fold additional lines in the same direction to divide the ends into 6. So we can use the place where the third is and fold over that line, and we have our next line. We turn over the paper in the other direction, and we have the next line. The next thing you want to do is to fold some of the diagonal lines in the paper. And the easiest diagonal lines are these two corner pieces here. Now I'm going to fold it off of the diagonal a little bit. I'm not going to be right on the line. I'm going to fold it off the diagonal so that this point doesn't quite reach there, and I'll show you why in just a minute. That makes creating the fold a little bit easier. You could fold it all the way in like that, and it could be made with that, but that makes it a little bit harder to perform one of the maneuvers. So I'm going to leave it just off a little bit on both sides. Next, we're going to fold this line. We can use this edge of the paper that we just folded as a guide for where this fold is. And we're going to fold it over in one direction all the way across the paper and crease it hard in the center. Then we're going to turn it over to the other side, find that crease, fold it in the opposite direction, and crease it hard along the outside edges. Let's turn it over this side again. Now we're going to bring it up, and we're going to bring these two edges together to get this diagonal line right here, and we crease right there. So you've got a line going here, a line going there. You bring the two lines together at that position and crease that line there. You do the same thing on this corner right here. We're trying to get this diagonal right in here. We're pinching to get that line right in the corner. Okay? The next thing we want to do is we want to fold the end of the boat, and we're going to fold it and unfold it so we can do it at a later time. So to do that, we bring the two edges up together, and there's a line right here. We're going to meet at that line right there. We then fold this flap of the paper to the back, and we fold this edge of the paper over, and there's one side of the end of the boat. We do the same thing on the other side. Have the two corners meet on that diagonal. Fold this flap to the back, fold this edge over, and we have the ending of our boat. I'm going to fold down on the edges. Now it will create a curve right here, and I'm not going to fold that curve. You could, if you wanted to, fold that curve and just unfold it later on. But I'm going to try and see if I can do this without folding that curve. I then bring this flap back down towards me, and I fold up along this edge to meet the center line. It'll meet the center line about there. I then use this edge as a guide so that I line that up with the center line so that it folds, so that this second line I've got here is in line with the center line. Okay? Next, I'm going to fold this edge to meet this edge. This folded edge to meet this edge right here. I fold it over and it meets the two edges. I continue folding using all the lines that are existing now. I'm going to fold in between the two folds that I just created. Fold it over one more time. Then I bring my boat back up, the boat edge back up, and you can see how I've now got a clear area over here and no creases in here except for the back of the boat. I'm going to turn this around and do the same thing on the other side. You might want to open the boat up a little bit to make sure you get all of that paper so it's folded down, okay? Now I've got it folded down. Remember, I start by folding over an edge to meet the center line. I then take that center line and use this edge to meet that line, but I unfold it and fold it up so that this line meets the center line. Fold this edge to meet the edge of the paper that I just folded up. Fold in between the two edges there to make the next crease. Continue folding and rolling the paper over to the next line, and then finally bring the bottom back up to the top. And believe it or not, my boat is nearly complete. Let's put my fingers inside the boat and open it up. And there is my easy fold boat. Oh, one more thing. Remember these little flaps that I folded over not quite into the corner? These actually help lock the back of the boat in place. If I unfold this a little bit and curl the edge, I might be able to get that edge into a pocket right here and lock that edge down. So I curl the edge, I bring this down, bring it into the pocket, and push the paper into the pocket. That holds the back of the boat, the side of the boat, so that it doesn't flap out like the other side does. See how this side is flapping out and this side is not. Let's repeat it on the other side. I lift it up, I curl the free edge of paper there, I open it up, find the pocket, push the edge into the pocket, and close it up again. Then I open up my boat again, and you can see that I have a nice boat without the edges flapping out like it was before. Next, we're going to fold the more difficult fold, the waterproof fold. And we begin as we did before by folding it into thirds. Unfolding the thirds, folding the edge to meet that third line, so we get our next horizontal line. We want to fold this horizontal line next. We take this edge, fold it over this line, we get our next horizontal line. Here are our flaps that we folded before over. Remember, these are our locking flaps that we used in the other boat to lock the thing in, and I folded it just a little bit off. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm not going to pull it right on the line. I'm going to fold it off of the line a little bit. You notice how the line is here and I folded it just above that position. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Next, I'm going to pre-fold the diagonal lines going across. There's one here and there's one here. You can easily fold the second line by folding this edge and having it meet this line. So I fold this edge, have it meet this line, and it folds that. Then unfold it and bring this edge to the crease line that I just created. And you notice that I'm going real close to the line, but I'm not getting right on the line. If you want to be real exact, you want to do that because this line actually rolls over and rolls over again and rolls over again until it gets into that position. So let's unfold that and see that again. I fold over to the first line. I roll over on the existing fold. I then use this line as a guide to fold that over. I use this line as a guide to fold that over. I do the same thing on the other side. I fold down, having this edge meet this edge. I then open it up, have this edge meet the fold that I just created. I then start to roll the paper over using the existing edge as a guide. Roll it over, use the existing edge as a guide, roll it over, use the existing edge as a guide, roll it over. Okay, now we get to some of the trickier parts of the fold. You see the blue line here? Before I folded it in this direction, I want to fold that blue line in the opposite direction. So I'm going to lift the paper up and pinch the paper together and fold just where the blue line is. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Lift the paper up and fold just to that point. Now, I'm going to push in where the blue line meets the red line, and it'll form a little bit of a triangle on one side, and this edge will be lifted up in that direction, and the blue line will be lifted up in this direction. So it's lifted up and lifted up. I now take my triangle that I've lifted up and I fold it over to the edge, and you notice that now all the red lines line up on the paper on that edge. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Push down in the center, lift up the blue line. You want this to lift up like that so that all the lines meet on both sides. I then repeat all my fold overs, all that rolling that I did. Roll it over, roll it over. Now I'm into this additional flap. Just continue to roll over, folding the new flap into it. Roll it over again, and you have the front edge of the boat. Let's unfold it a bit back to here. I'm going to go back and do the other side now. Bring this up so you see all the red lines together. Start rolling the paper over, roll it over, roll it over, roll it over again. Make that crease all the way along, and then lift it up. Now let's go back to my back, and I want to bring this up the way it was formed before. So I bring it in to the center, and now I roll the entire edge into the fold. I do the same thing on the other side, entire thing into the boat, and my boat is nearly finished. Now, remember those little extra flaps that I had underneath? This is actually an optional fold because these with enough pressure will kind of stay in place without doing this fold, but I like to make that additional fold to really have those sides stay in. So I lift the paper up, and there's my little edge, and I have a pocket down in here. This is really a tricky maneuver to make. A little pocket down in there. You're going to roll that in there, and you have to bring it down and roll it in there, and it's really a little tricky maneuver to make. Once you get it in there, you push it in, and that locks it into place. Let's do it on the other side. Lift it up. Here's my flap. Want to curve that flap around. Bring that flap down to the bottom. Try to push it into the flap underneath it. See this flap right here? I want to make that the pocket that I'm going into. Going into that pocket. Once I get it in there, I push it together. And make sure you crease all these lines nice and sharply all the way along the boat. Open up your boat, and there is your waterproof boat.